religion after religion, written book after book, all in an effort to satisfy our quest for knowing God. Now, after many millennia, mankind is more at a loss to the nature of God. In fact, it appears that the tools we created to help us find God serve more as obstacles and hindrances. Those obstacles now stand between God and us. We extend to you an invitation to join Master Eric and Omkar for the weekly program Between God and Us every Sunday evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. exclusively on Sankhya television. Between God and Us. Knowledge to free your soul.
Sitaram, and welcome to Season 2 of the program Between God and Us. And it's been a big hit program with the local as well as the international viewers who are very interested in spirituality and learning more about the religious practices, not just of Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, as well as many other cultures across the globe. And with me for Season 2, once again, the esteemed Master Eric, who through his knowledge and experience has been able to shed light on topics and questions that all of us have, and the purpose of the program to further enlighten the general public as to the proper practices and traditions to help you live a prosperous and beneficial life. So welcome back, Master Eric.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to say Sitaram, Assalamu alaikum, Sairam, and good evening, everyone. I'm back.
Yeah, I missed you.
Yeah, 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't here, and I missed it, and I know you're going to ask me, why did I go?
Yeah, where were you? Well, not just me.
No, I
the
won't
public
say
wants
that.
to know,
I won't
you know?
say the location where I was, but in order to get your body, your mind, and the super consciousness, I had to go through this to get my body where it needs to be. If anything needed to be adjusted, fixed, I had to go through it. If you noticed, I've lost a lot of weight in 3 months.
Yeah.
And in 3 months, I lost 70 pounds in 3 months. But the main thing, every spiritual leader, Omkar, at certain times, have to go and get more training. Uplift yourself to another level, okay? And if they don't, that's their choice. But a real spiritual person needs to go and do that. Okay? Mine was different, kind of rigorous, but I wouldn't pass it up for anything because it did correct my body. Okay? And it fine-tuned the super consciousness, my connection. And hopefully, after people start watching the programs, they'll see the ultimate goal between God and us is to have the individual make a direct contact to God, not through a third party. Okay? That should be the ultimate goal of every human being. But the question is, do they feel or have the desire to go through what it takes to achieve that?
One thing I was thinking while you were saying that every spiritual leader has to, let's say, upgrade or update. Because the reason I'm saying that is because sometimes you hear people say, you have to get with the times, so you have to learn new stuff. But is it that probably it's more about self-discovery and fine-tuning, or what is it then?
Well, hopefully the spiritual leader has already found self-discovery.
Right.
Hopefully,
Right.
right? But if they didn't, by all means, they have to get further training. I want you to understand, Omkar, you made a very valid point. When it comes to puja, it comes to, saying the Catholic rituals, even the Arabic for the Muslims. Do you think once you know a few prayers, you know it all? No. We will never, and I've said it in many of the programs, you will never scratch the surface in 10 lifetimes the knowledge that's even out there. A lot of people make God finite. That means he has limitations. But when you research, you see that God has no beginning and no end. So how can we put him in a book with a front cover and a back cover and say that's all you need to know? It's impossible, right? If you look at various religions or sectors, Sumerian, they don't have one book. Egyptian, they don't have one book. When you look at Hinduism, oh God, there's so many books. And then you have other faiths that just have one book. So now we have to look, if God has no beginning and no end, and he's everything that's around us, everything, the flowers, the trees, everything. And he's in each one of us, whether you connect to him or not. He's there. He's just waiting on us to connect. Now, how big is the universe, Omkar?
Well, I don't know, but pretty big. It's unfathomably
Correct.
big.
Right now, scientists have no idea how big the universe is. So when you look at the life chart or the Akashic records, every day the universe is expanding.
Right.
So wouldn't knowledge also be expanding?
Okay.
This is how people have to look at it. And every religion is important. I've talked about it before. Every person, especially children, needs a base, a platform to go from.
Right.
You need to learn the religion that you were born in. And then spread your wings. Because how are you going to help people, Omkar, if you only know one? If a Christian comes to you and they say, oh, I don't believe in that. Do you have any other way of doing this? Or the Muslims come. You should know the Quran. You should know the whole base of their religion. Judaism, Buddhism. So you have to look at all these major ones and learn so that we can actually help everybody that comes.
Okay. One thing I'm thinking is, when you say know, that you're supposed to know your religion that you're born in pretty well. Is it that you know the words of the book, or is there more to know it? Because
no,
you have
I
people
think
who can
I know
recite.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's a rule, and I said it again, even during the satsang I did. And people was like, huh? What was he saying? The rule is, get your book. It doesn't say the name of the book. It says, get your book. So it could be the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. It could be anyone. Read your book. Try to understand the book. Then close the book and don't go back in it every day. You're supposed to take what you learned from the book and now apply it to you and start walking a spiritual path. That's not being taught. Everybody's taught to only know the book. So you're shorting yourself. You have to take it and apply it. Not apply it only where you want to. It has to apply to every avenue of yourself. So, and when you expand, when the temptations come, and you have the knowledge, what is the penalty of doing this? Well, when you know the penalties, Omkar, you think 10 times before you would even attempt to do that. Because if people aren't taught, they keep doing it. But they don't know what karma, or what they call good deeds, bad deeds, is applying to their record. So the record is their life chart.
Yeah.
Okay? Hinduism, they call it Akashic records. So when you do make it up to where you're being judged, your whole life is written, sitting right there. Everything you've done is sitting right there. And then, in not long from now, but in a couple shows from now, I'm going to get into the actual judgment.
All right.
And I think it's going to blow people's minds. And I'm not going to talk like this. I'm going to have the scriptures right in front of me. I'm going to let them know where it's referenced, what book, what paragraph, right? And what page number. People need to start reading Omkar.
Yeah.
We can't, you know that little dog in the front of a car on the dash?
Yeah.
And you hit a bump and the little dog going like this? We don't want to be like that. You listen to what's being said, take your notes, and research on what's being said. And then you'll see, is what's being said is according to the scriptures. Now, a lot of people think that the scriptures was meant for that time.
Right.
Because you hear a lot of spiritual leaders today say, this is modern times. We're not in the same time frame.
Yeah.
But like in Hinduism, when the rishis and the munis was getting dictated the scriptures by Lord Shiva, doesn't he know all? Even if it's Muslim, Allah. Doesn't Allah know all? Jesus and God. Don't they know all? So all means through all the 4 periods of earth. Right. Now we're in Kali Yuga, the last period. So don't you think what they dictated should have been throughout the whole time? Yeah. But man steps in, changes things, or says, I think we need to translate this way. It's better to understand. But anytime you translate from a language that has over 50 letters in the alphabet, you're losing something. There's going to be deviations between the 2 scriptures, right? Like if you read the Codex is before the Torah. The Christian Bible is from the Torah. Now, when you view the Codex and you turn to a certain page and turn to a certain page in the Bible, it's night and day, Omkar.
Yeah. Just for the viewers at home, the Codex is the original Bible.
It's one of the original.
Yeah.
The Old Testament is even older than the Codex. And the Old Testament was actually chiseled in clay tablets. And they still can't date those tablets back to, how far back did it go? When was this written or chiseled on the And that's the Old Testament of the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, and from there was offsprings, a division between religions. So if you even look in Hinduism, Muslim, Christian, Judaism, Egyptian, it talks about the Great Deluge.
Right.
The Great Deluge is the flood.
Yeah.
You know it all came from that clay tablet. Sodom and Gomorrah, the Temple of Babylon, Adam and Eve, Moses, everything came from the clay tablets. So this is where, and it's become a problem.
Yeah. You have something, since we're on the topic of that, but I had a question before that, and then this come up.
Sorry.
So the question before that was about the interpretation that people change in the teachings now. For example, in the Bible, where they talk about sodomy. I don't know. I never really.
About what?
Well, homosexuality, basically.
Okay.
But now the Catholic Church is accepting. Here they accept.
No, they're thinking about it.
They're thinking about it. So they're thinking about changing, and a lot of churches.
They were thinking about doing same-sex marriages.
Yeah, a lot of churches now doing it in the US.
And
homosexual preachers.
And the cardinal stepped in.
Yeah.
And the Pope said they're waiting on that. They have to have a judgment on that.
But then, how can they judge it if it's already written?
See, I think we need to have a whole program on this. Mm-hmm. Not to offend people that live this way.
Well, it's not about it's not about, although I'm using that as an example.
What you're looking at is what's being done or could be done versus what the scriptures say.
Right.
Now, to some people, that might be hypocritical.
All right.
So there has been some, but not many, very few,
right,
that says the scriptures should be rewritten
to suit the times.
To fit the times.
Right.
And I'm not the judge of that. You're not the judge of that. But I'm a firm believer in the scriptures.
All right. The second question.
20 years from now will not be like today.
Okay.
So are they going to rewrite it again?
Yeah. The second question I had was about when people interpret the scriptures, a lot of people use philosophy.
Correct. Or theory.
Or theory, right? So is it that the scriptures were written as philosophical texts where it was open to interpretation, or was it an instructive text to say, this is how it is and one should live like this in order to be happy, let's say?
Okay.
Simply.
Scriptures
right,
was produced as a guideline,
right,
a way of life to actually try to better yourself, help humanity,
right,
and especially when you have children, you pass it on to your children. But the younger generation today, they call it the new wave. It's more into spiritualism, not into religion.
right.
Because a lot of them look at religion as it's hateful against other religions.
Okay.
There's been wars for thousands of years because of religion. And they look at it as, now don't quote from me, I'm just saying what's being said. They say man made religion as a control mechanism to control people. That's why they say it's forbidden to look somewhere else. It's forbidden to know the other religion. That's blasphemy. You're going to hell. Because they say, and it's a very good argument, Jesus, when he walked the earth, he was never against other religions. He came for our sins, no matter who you were. He would reach out a helping hand to the enemy because he knew he could not judge no one. So why are humans judging each other now? Does it make sense? No. It's a control mechanism.
Right.
And then when I was on the other TV show, boy, they hit me with a good question. They said, where do atheists go? And they kept saying, just like people when they hear about Mother Kali, they hear one thing, but they don't see the whole picture. So they look at her as bad, which she's not, people. So when you start looking at these things, the atheists believe that the world, if God was so great and he was so powerful and there's no beginning and no end, how could the world twice be populated through incest? Which incest down here is a crime. Now, some people may say twice. Now, I'm talking Christian religion.
Right.
So, the first one was Adam and Eve.
Right.
Okay? Then they broke down to Abraham, Cain, and Abel, and everybody else. But it was still, they were all family.
Yeah.
Right? Then the second time was after the great deluge. Mm-hmm. It was Noah.
Yeah.
And his family.
Yeah.
So they had to repopulate the world. Okay? So what they're saying, if God was so just and all about righteousness, why would he use incest? He could have put many people on the earth to repopulate. So I'm not going against the Bible. I'm saying this is the way the atheist thinks.
Right.
So what they say, they don't believe in the God that's in the scriptures. They know there's a higher power.
Yeah.
But that's all they believe in. Okay? Then you have the satanic religion, right? Which is actually one of the oldest in the world. Because Lucifer has been around since when? Even before the earth. Because he was the general of the armies for God. Very close to God. So that belief, when he broke off from God and challenged God and tried to take over heaven, and 1/3 of them came down to the earth. That explains a lot of things in the scriptures, which the scriptures do not have the answers. Right. So what I'm trying to do is show you how people perceive religion. We receive it like it's the word, but we try to expand our knowledge for spiritual reasons. But then you have the other side, which I just talked about, that don't believe in it. And the young people aren't believing in it now either, because they're not getting the answers to their questions. I talked about that in the satsang. And this is where knowledge comes in. This is where teachings. So, and some of them are here listening right here in the show. If you're the guru of individuals, Omkar, you're supposed to take time out solely to teach your students. So when you go to satsangs, don't make it obvious. Ask a couple young people or people, are you taught one-on-one with your guru? Is he teaching you for development, to uplift yourself, for the betterment of humanity? I'll guarantee you it's no. Not everybody. We got some good people out there. But that's why people are leaving them, Carl.
Yeah.
They don't understand. Nobody's teaching them. So we take a whole day, shut down the operations, and we have class.
Yeah.
Or we go to the ocean and we're doing puja, and everything's explained as you do the puja, the meaning. If you don't know what every article is for and what the meaning is, so when you place it down, where's the genuality of that offering? And you heard one of my students today. He talks real good, don't he?
Yeah.
He knows it.
Yeah.
You know, this is where a guru is proud. So let's say we go somewhere and somebody asks him a question, but not me. I don't have to worry. He's going to answer it, or she's going to answer it.
Yeah.
To the best of their ability. If they can't, they will say, just let me write it down. I'll get with master or whoever and get the answer, and I'll call you back. So we're lacking a lot of things in the news this last year. The churches, temples, mosques, the leaders were complaining because we're losing a lot of participation, especially with young people. And they said, do they have to do readjustments? What do they have to do to try to get the young people back? Because that is the world's future, is the children. So there's a lot of things we have to look at to see how we can make things better and easier for the young people. When I grew up, they said when you ask a question they didn't know, they'd say you have to have faith. You have to believe. Okay. Young people today, you can't tell them that. They have to see something or feel something. And we do that too.
Yeah.
They can actually feel the energy shoot through all their bodies at the same time, which I'll demonstrate here in about April. So what I'm trying to say is, well, I'll just ask you the question. What do you think the scriptures are for?
I think this is for all scripture, Hindu,
Yeah,
Muslim,
all across the board.
that you have people who through their own discoveries realize truths, and they wrote it down so that other people who did not go through the process could read and get an inkling that, okay, there's something beyond what you know out there. But a lot of the people who read it, including myself, don't have the experience of what is written there. Because I know English, so I'll read something in English and I'll assume based on what I understand the meaning to be. But I don't think that necessarily is what the person intended when they wrote it. So when I read something, I will say, okay, well, if I don't understand it or if it doesn't make sense, I will think I need to expand my experience in order to understand what this person meant. So I think I look at scriptures more literally, like instructions.
It's a guide.
It's a guide. So if the person saw something, experienced something that I did not experience, I don't look at scriptures philosophically at all, any scripture. I think this guy saw something, or woman, they saw something, they experienced something, they wrote it down. And it's an indicator to me that I need to expand. That's what I think. So I don't look at scriptures as controlling, as some people say, or as trying to.
No, when they said control,
Yeah.
they say it's forbidden to look at other scriptures.
I kind of agree with that in the sense that if you don't understand fully one thing that you read, you can't duplicate. You can't live that one thing that you
Right. So
You're
let me
right.
give you an example of why you should. And I'm staying within the same religion.
Right.
Same religion. So in the Bible, it talks about Cain and Abel doing their fire offerings to God. And one was given sheep, blood sacrifice, and the other one was given what he grew on the land, wheat, barley, and things like that.
Right.
Well, God favored the wheat and barley.
Right.
Now, that caused a big rift, and Cain killed Abel,
Right.
and he buried his body. That was the first mention of burial in the Christian religion. Now, Cain left after.
I'm laughing, not to cut across your point, but it's like, if the Christians say that's why you should bury, they base in their burial process of a murderer. What a murderer did.
Well, a lot of people, they don't need to be buried unless they're murdered. You understand?
That's
But what
the
I'm
idea.
saying, that was the first mention
Right.
of someone burying somebody
Yeah.
in the ground to hide the body,
Right.
right? Then, this is where what you were asking comes in.
Right.
Then Cain left the family and went on his journey. But then in Genesis, it talks about, but all of a sudden, Cain came upon a city. A city. Now he's from the original people,
Right.
full of people. And it cuts off. There's no other mention about it.
Right.
Now, in the era of Constantine, when Constantine was in charge, they had the Council of Nicaea. And it's approximately about 317 AD
Right.
when this happened. And all the heads sat down and said what will be allowed in the Bible and what will not be allowed in the Bible. Well, the book of Enoch, which is Noah's grandfather, explained why Cain came to the city of people, where they came from, and that's why they were a lot taller than everybody else. They were 12, 13 feet tall. And I did a movie on it, and we actually showed where they found the skeletons of 15-foot people. They were giants. So if you don't look at one of the books that they pulled out of the original Bible,
Yeah.
how would we ever know? So you're looking outside the box
Yeah.
to what was taken out.
Yeah.
There were 27 books taken out. I have all the books. And when you read the books, you'll understand why they were taken out. And then when you investigate, here's what I'll do. Not this next show, but the next show. I want you to do a little research at the different Christian religions and how many books are in the Bible. They vary from the Greek Orthodox to the Catholic to the Protestants. Each one says their Bible is the right one, but they have a different amount of books. So which one is right? See, this is where man intervenes. And this is why the newer generation is getting turned off. Because they want to know who was the people in the cities. You understand what I mean? There's a lot of questions. And then when you read that, you'll find out when David fought Goliath. Goliath was huge.
Yeah.
13, 14 feet tall. They said he was the last offspring.
Well, those on it was the Nephilim, no? The children of the angels and humans before that.
Correct. And it also does state that the fallen angels, 250 of them that came down. Some say 500. If you do 500, it makes sense. but they came down and fell in love with human women, with their beauty. And they had offsprings with the human women.
Yeah.
So this is still being looked at. The scholars, they're debating over it. And then the question is, once the scholars come to an agreement, are they going to put the books back in? See, this is the question we have to ask. So then we have to ask, if you look at Hinduism, you'll read something, you say something to people. But then another person that's learnt says, well, you referenced this book. What about this book? Or what about this book? So which one's right? This is what's confusing people. They should have a one standard that is read through amongst all the people.
Yeah.
The only one that hasn't really been deviated is the Quran in the Muslim faith. They will tell you, all the scholars will tell you, that has never been altered. So, if that's the case, then that means they're pretty well on track with their belief. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't have different references of the same story, but different outcomes or how it was done.
Yeah.
You know, so this is where when you do a remind, or you do a satsang, or you do a prayers, or you do a service in a church, or when you talk, you know, in Muslim, or at the temple, or what they call the tabernacle, for Jews, synagogue.
Yeah.
Read directly from the scripture. We're going to have some shows coming up.
You have a question, something I want then, right? No, I don't read much of the scriptures because
You like movies, right?
no, not really movies. I like to contemplate stuff. Like the same way I'm thinking about this, right? So I heard Ram in Hinduism was 15 feet tall. Now you're saying the Nephilim was 15 feet tall.
On that, I have never read where it gave the specifics of his height.
Okay.
So,
No, at that time I was talking to this real die-hard Hindu. Die-hard Hindu. The one who believed that the Vamanas, the knowledge is there, and the Hindus were the first, like die-hard. And he was adamant that Ram was a different race, 15 feet tall. Humans are 6 feet tall.
so how tall was Lakshman?
15 feet. Well, Lakshman, Raman, and his brothers, and so
Barrett and everybody was 15 feet
because
tall.
you said the Nephilim was 15 feet tall, I just asked him.
No, if they were from that.
Yeah.
But then that clashes with the scriptures.
Right.
Because wasn't Ram an incarnation of Vishnu?
Right.
Not Nephilim.
No. Well, suppose
So
we
are they
say that
saying that,
Vishnu was an angel and Ram was a son of an angel now?
okay, so is the guy Christian or Hindu?
No, I
Because
asked him this. Not the guy. If the guy was
Ram
saying-
was reincarnated
right.
to get rid, the main thing that he was doing
Yeah.
was to get rid of negativity and to uplift humanity.
Right.
But the whole story expands on that. But what I'm trying to say is I have never ran across where it gives their height.
Okay.
Now that could be an assumption,
Right.
right? But then how big was Rawan? You know, and we need to go into this, Omkar.
I'll go back and ask the fella.
No, we need to go into this
Yeah.
because the full story of Rawan isn't really told. So we're going to go into that
Yeah.
because there is a lot to learn to apply to ourselves today from that story and how he ended right? So I want to go into that too. But I don't want to turn people off by hearing the same story over and over and over. They hear it every day now.
Yeah.
You know, but we're going to show the full facts, right? Now, the bottom line is religion is a pathway, the beginning of a pathway. And I'm a firm believer that it's a personal choice which one you feel comfortable with. Now, there are some people that the parents make them do certain things at a certain age.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm a firm believer that they should do it when they understand the meaning of what they're going to be doing.
I think you mean like getting Christian, like choosing a godfather,
Christian
a
or
guru.
Christianity, you know, baptism.
Yeah. Finding a guru.
That's a big commitment.
Yeah.
What you're actually going to.
Yeah.
But you can't knock traditions. Tradition is handed down for a reason. So what I'm trying to say, there are a lot of Hindus in Trinidad that has converted over to Christianity. And when I talk to them, I ask them why. And they say because they didn't understand anything. It's more easier to understand one, Jesus, his Father God, instead of a bunch of deities. But then, why do they not know? Is it that they're never taught? You know, is the teaching there besides the satsans and everything else? See, this is where training comes in.
Yeah.
We're lost without training. When I was in the military, we had to read, we had to know. We had to shut the book. So this is just like what was said in spirituality. Now you take what you learned and you apply it physically. Whether your job, mine at the time, was nuclear missiles. You got to know how to put them together, what to do, how to program it, everything, how to fire it. And then you do it a zillion times till you can beat the record of anybody. Because if you don't, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because by the time you elevate that, they got that on radar.
Yeah.
You only got a certain amount of time to get that thing fired. So same thing. Training, knowledge, and that will make you successful in no matter what you do in life. And we're lacking that even in our schools today.
Yeah.
We're lacking that teaching.
Yeah, something I was thinking, right? Yes, the Bible and the Quran and the Hindu scriptures and all the other scriptures from all the other religions have the stories.
Now remember, there's 4,200 religions on the earth right now.
But in terms of the human life, let's say I looking at this program as a person and I say, well, all that is well and good. It's historical or whatever. But how does that affect me? In terms of religion, reading the book. Is it that the individual must learn historically, or is it that there's something in the scripture that applies directly to the individual in order to be happy?
See, this is where, one, it's a personal choice. Two, the mindset of the person. Three, when they have questions, find a teacher in your religion. Okay, Christian, they don't call them gurus. You know, you get a teacher. And then you go to school. There's schools and religions that teach you. Now, I'm not saying to turn into a monk or whatever, but also, and remember I said I want to do the show from the scriptures and blah, 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 blah. There are certain things you're supposed to do before you read the scripture, no matter what religion you're in. And when you do it, you're asking for the understanding of what's being written. Some of the scriptures are written in parables.
Right.
So they're kind of hard. There would be many different translations on what that actual leader, what he sees and reads and how he talks. So that's why I told you the one time. We could go to 10 temples, hear the same story. but there's going to be differences.
Yeah.
We could go to 10 churches, hear the same sermon, but there's going to be differences.
Yeah.
It's interpretation that does it. Now, when I ask people to say the Lord's Prayer, do you know the Lord's Prayer is actually written from the Hindu background and Christianity? The meaning of that prayer is representing the philosophy of Hinduism. So what I mean by it, when they say, Our Father, who art in heaven, I'll say, stop. What does that mean? And they'll say, well, God's in heaven. I'll say, that is not what it means. With the word art in there back then, not now, means not just. He's everything. He's everywhere. He's in your soul that's in your body that you haven't even connected with. So that's what that short sentence means.
Yeah.
And then it says, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, the work.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, stop. What does that mean? Well, is work going to be done on earth as it is in heaven? I said, how? How? I said, now put the first sentence and that sentence together and match them up. So God isn't everywhere. He also resides in us.
All right.
He's the trees. He's the flowers. He's everything. Animals. Now, He's there waiting on you. Waiting to finally make that connection with Him. So you don't need a third party. You can get your guidance directly from God. We teach that, right? Now, once you accept Him, no matter how a religion teaches you to accept, and you start walking as close as you can, nobody's perfect, of being a better person, being more righteous, and being more family and helping humanity. Isn't that when His work is being done on earth as it is in heaven per individual?
Well, I have a different interpretation of it, right? And like I say, I have no faith in philosophy. So
Right.
what I'm about to say is, for my thinking, practical. So by saying, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, means whatever happens on earth is God's will. And by that,
how is it going to be implemented?
by that I mean, some death, people say, sometimes if somebody dies abruptly, they'll say, it was
Or an accidental death.
accidental death. It's like, no, everything happening per God's will.
Or some say it's written.
It's written. That's how that person's supposed to die, that this is how it was supposed to be. So, practically speaking, on earth as it is in heaven means everything that happens through God's will, not by accident.
Right. So
And it's
don't
not-
you think there were times, Omkar, when I was young, and I said it during the satsang,
Right.
when I was young, I was naughty. I get whippings all the time,
Yeah.
right? There were times when I was a kid, I was going to do something. But then God, He's up there seeing me. And He's probably up there saying, oh God, please don't do that. Please don't do that. But He will not interfere in our choice. That's why He gave us free will of choice. So once we do that act, we put God to work. Now He has to conform everything around us to fit that choice we made, so we see that it wasn't good. It wasn't what should have been done. And He's hoping from the way we learn that we will change our course of action back on the path. And when we do, we actually make Him work again and show us that this is the right decision.
Yeah.
So God will never interfere with your free will of choice.
Yeah.
So
But what I'm thinking, just to add to it,
the only way He
flip
will is
side.
when you make that connection
The flip
and you
side,
accept
right?
Him.
Like I know about something that happened probably 15 years ago. 15, 20 years ago, where where this woman was traveling up the highway and a car flipped over from the southbound lane onto the northbound lane, flipped on top of their car, killing everybody inside the car. Now that, to me, that's like, yeah, well, that was your time to go. Like, meters would have made a difference then. If she was off to the left, right, forward, or backward, she wouldn't have done. And that to me says, no, she would have done everything normal, not planning anything out of the way, like being naughty or anything, just going about her day.
Right.
And she died. And to me, that is like the statement, God's will as it is on earth as it is in heaven. It's like, that day, that time, when that car flipped, that was your time to go. So, just to add to what you were saying, so it could be a positive thing, which is...
Or a negative.
Or what we think is...
A negative.
Negative.
But, so then my question is,
Yeah.
and I think you brought up, not the next show, but the show after, what the topic should be.
Death?
What is death?
Okay.
And the second part is, why is death our best teacher? When you really research death, it opens your mind. It really does. Do you know people act different when they're told they had 7 days to live? They start, listening to the people they wouldn't talk to 25 years ago. These are just examples.
Yeah.
And
Some people go all out and party hard for 7 days and die in 6.
right, but that's their way, right?
Yeah.
All I'm trying to say, and then you'll know the different types of death. What are the proper signs of death? Because when you start looking and researching, people are pronounced dead that's not embalmed. And they're still alive when you bury them or cremate them. There's been many cases in the States when, due to a case, forensics had to bring the body, exhume the body, and they found claw marks inside. Why do you think the old Orthodox Christians, way before the Protestant faiths, when they buried somebody, they ran a line from the casket and put a bell onto the tombstone? You could be in a transcendental stage. No heartbeat, no breathing. So we're going to go over that too, because what are the real signs of death? And what are we supposed to do? And all of this is referenced in the Garuda Mahapuran. And we're going to read it straight from the scriptures. So, the reason I want to start reading directly from the scriptures, don't you think if I tried to remember every word, I might miss out a little bit?
Yeah.
And when you start quoting, you need to quote word for word. And this isn't being done most of the time. And then when you learn something, Omkar, and let's say you're the guru and you want to teach your students. After you teach them what's written, now here comes the harder part. You have to understand what it means. Break it down so they could apply what it says to their own life now. That's not easy. A lot of people can't do that. Okay? So I'm glad you did this today because we didn't have no topic in mind.
No, but we laid the foundation for a lot of episodes.
A lot of episodes coming up.
Yeah.
But one episode I want to do, and it's probably number 6 or 7 for this season. I want to go over the shift. The shift of the earth.
Okay.
And it's actually happening now. NASA proved it.
Axial, you mean?
Huh?
The axis of
It's
the
called,
Earth?
it's called the solar shift.
Right.
Which is the axis of the earth. But before the axis of the earth actually move, the magnetic field moves. And if you look back 2 years ago, NASA said it has moved a lot.
Yeah.
A shift. So when that happens, when you read Patras, You have to know the time, date, Rashi name, location. The reason is, where you are in the world, it could be north +1, +4, +5, or it could be -5 and 4. That has to be calculated in there. But if the magnetic field has shifted, all that data is off. You'd have to recalibrate everything to the actual position it is today. Tomorrow it could be a little bit further. So it's very important. And what happens when we have the shift, if it does happen? What would happen to the earth? What will happen? Do you know it's all written, Omkar? So I want to bring it up. But before we go into the shift, I want to go over the 4 ages.
Yeah.
And what was written and what was happening during those ages and times. Because you saw all the information I had on calculations. How the ancients used to calculate everything. Remember those pages I showed you?
Yeah.
How deep was that? It's super deep.
Yeah, very much.
So when we start going into that, then you could start understanding what is the actual time difference between God's time and our time. That leads in, after the shift, to why is our prayers sometimes not answered?
I remember you mentioned...
I mentioned it, but we didn't do it yet. Some people pray 6 months and get fed up.
Yeah.
Because they haven't got what they got. Yeah. But if you knew the actual time difference, 6 months is a nanosecond to God.
Yeah.
So I think people need to understand. And then I've had at least 20, 30 people come this week. And they ask me, what's the proper way to pray? And I looked at them and I said, there's not. As long as you pray from your heart, mind, and your soul, you could just talk to God. You don't have to have a mantra. You don't have to have a ritual. Give Him your heart, mind, and soul and put everything on the table for them. And they said they've never been told that. Now, there's some wise people listening right now tonight. And they know that. They're doing that also. But why are people walking around not knowing? That's the simplest thing. That's a universal prayer. So I am so glad and honored that you've come and joined me on Between Us and God, because you said it the first program. What's between us and God? Everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And we're not saying the way we do things is the right way. We give people options. We give similarities between religions to where maybe they'll start understanding each other, not fight each other or condemn each other. You know, you don't have to be the other religion, but you could at least respect and honor what they do, because we think we're right, but they may not think we're right. You know, it's a circle. It's an endless circle. But I just want to say it's been an honor, a privilege to be back. I am so honored to be with you in your company today. And if you have any questions or clarifications watching our programs, please contact us. You can contact me via WhatsApp, 354-4459. If you're international, add 1-868 before that. You can get with Sankhya TV or even email. And write your questions, and we will respond. We will get with you. And if you have a topic that you've always wanted to hear, not skimming over it, you want the topic to be in depth, write us the topic that you would like to hear, We will research it, we will gather the information, and we will come and do a show on your topic. But again, Omkar, it's been a pleasure. And everybody, you have a fantastic night and be safe.
God. Has any word in human history been more influential? Mankind has created religion after religion, written book after